this is Don Sommerfeld for the department. I know there was an inquiry about documents. When we had the hearing last time, we did not have the presence of mom. Those documents included information about dad and mother. We proceeded with father, and at the appropriate time, I do have an update on mom because I don't think she's going to appear today unless the court had knowledge that she was not released from prison and did a writ.
I believe that we do have her present. I think I'm looking at her from the Department of Corrections right now.
I am a Children's Services Supervisor, specifically supervising foster care in Otsego and Crawford counties.
Okay, and the documents identified regarding Axel Robbins and his parents, are you familiar with them?
Yes,
And aren't you the foster care supervisor of this case?
that's correct.
Okay, and so I'd like to talk about you received some information from the Otsego County Parole Office regarding Heather Mccue recently.
That's correct.
And what was that in relation to?
That information was in relation to Ms. McHugh's anticipated parole date. It had been anticipated that she would be out in December. That did not end up occurring. MDOC specifically indicated that they wanted to make sure we had accurate information as to why she wasn't paroled. Heather had initially provided information to worker Joaquin Solis that her parole may be impacted due to an altercation with another individual in the prison. But according to MDOC, the further reason that Ms. McHugh was not paroled was due to testing positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine within the prison.
Okay. Do we know how much further time she will receive or because of this incident at this time?
I do not have an update on that at this time. We're hoping to be able to get further information through Department of Corrections or the prison directly.
Hasn't the mother previously submitted substance abuse programs that she's taken in the Department of Corrections for purposes of meeting need domains in this case?
Yes, even prior to her incarceration, she did some voluntary participation in substance abuse services through, I believe it was Bear River. Since her incarceration in the prison, she has provided verification that was previously provided to the parties of completion of advanced substance abuse treatment. And according to the report, she participated in that from October of 25 until January of 25 and was noted to successfully complete that and have anywhere from good to excellent understanding of the different domains within that coursework.
Okay, and just to be clear, mom, Heather Mccue, she tested positive for methamphetamine while incarcerated at the Huron Valley, Michigan Department of Corrections.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, in the department's view, has there been any benefit regarding substance abuse, under these circumstances?
Based on this information, no.
Okay. So we have engagement in a service, someone is incarcerated in a controlled environment, and then there was still documentation of a positive for methamphetamine use while in prison.
Correct.
Okay, so there's no benefit.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other things that mom has been working on in prison, in her limited capacity, of course, but is there anything now? Is she making progress anywhere else?
I would note that the need domain of domestic relations is still a concern as well. Not only do we have the substance abuse issue arising in the prison, but we also have interpersonal conflict still. While that's not a romantic relationship, it is a interpersonal relationship, which has been problematic in the past. So that is definitely still a need domain as well. Parenting skills is also a need domain still. She has, as you referenced, been doing some, what program it has been available to her within the prison. We have the verification of, like I said, the substance abuse treatment. She also, Huron Valley did recently confirm that she completed, I just want to make sure I say the right one. She had started, we believe she started codependency and healthy relationship as well as anger management classes, but we don't have verification of that yet. But Huron Valley did confirm that she completed parenting education, specifically the Parenting Inside Out and Advanced Substance Abuse Treatment Program, which is what I referenced already.
Okay. Wasn't substance abuse a major component of the original removal of Axel regarding mother in the first place?
Substance abuse in conjunction with domestic discord, in conjunction with poor parenting, based on not properly supervising Axel. Axel witnessed severe violence between his mother and father while they were under the influence of substances. That is something that is evident. Axel consistently reports and discusses the incident where Heather, as he calls it, stabbed Dylan in the leg or the thigh. And it's something that is very traumatizing for him.
Okay. As far as does Axel have any kind of bond with his mom?
Um,
Does he talk about his mother? I mean,
I wouldn't say that he doesn't have a bond. Based on a psychological that we just had done on Axel, according to that, um, his attachment style, based on his trauma history and his perception, is very disorganized. So in his assessment, it talks about the fact that he didn't necessarily readily say that he could approach his mom if like he needed something. Um, but it just talks very much about disorganized attachment based on the things that he has experienced.
okay. How is Axel doing in his foster care placement?
Yeah, and that's a hard question to answer. So in his placement in general, he's doing well. He has structure, he has stability, he has consistency. They're implementing any recommendations they can through both his therapist, Jeanette Sayer, through Dr. Sloan, who has consulted for Axel through a referral through his school because he's had significant behavior issues at school. What we are seeing, and I believe Mr. Solis discussed this in the father's portion of this hearing, is that parenting time does impact his emotional regulation and functioning, daily functioning. He struggles significantly anytime there is contact with either parent. And it doesn't have to necessarily be that they're doing something that they shouldn't be, but it seems like even in situations where the parenting time is going as well as could be hoped, there is still significant issues for Axel behaviorally, emotionally, both before and after his parenting time. According to his psychological evaluation, one of with learning that he has this disorganized attachment, one of the main recommendations is that he have that his parenting time be consistent, that it is detrimental to him if it's not consistent based on that attachment issue. And thus far, it's been unable to be consistent. For Miss Mccue specifically, when she went to prison, it was difficult for her. Obviously, she couldn't continue the in-person parenting time. She had thought about maybe doing video, but then had settled on phone calls, because for a majority of her time of incarceration, she either was in a relationship with Dylan, Axel's dad, or was on reportedly like decent terms in the sense of like that they were friends. So, but that means that her contact was, surrounding his visits when he was attending. So I wouldn't say he doesn't have a bond, but based on the report from the psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't know how secure it is. One of the recommendations from the psychological for Axel is that he actually have a bonding assessment with each of his parents, to kind of further assess whether or not, his bond is secure, and to use that information to further determine like best interest for him, and as well as permanency planning. But at this point, with Ms. McCue's incarceration and not being paroled, there are many barriers to being able to facilitate further services for her. For example, a psychiatric assessment through like a provider we would normally use, as well as being able to facilitate a bonding assessment.
Okay. What are we looking at here? What are our recommendations to the court under these circumstances?
Yeah, unfortunately with these, with this new information, I reviewed like the history and the court process thus far, as far as time goes. As of today, Axel has been in foster care for 986 days, which is over 2 years. There was delayed adjudication in this case, and disposition, but even still, disposition occurred on December 3rd of 24. And so we are over 13 months, specifically at 13 months and 4 days. And there's it does not seem viable that either parent is going to be in a position to participate in, benefit from, and be able to fully parent Axel in the time that is needed.
Okay, and that's within a reasonable time considering the child's age.
Correct. I believe that a permanency planning hearing is appropriate. There is a next hearing scheduled, I believe it's February 17th, for another review stemming from the father's portion of this segment. I believe a permanency planning hearing would be appropriate at that time, to really to make sure that we have all the documentation to fully recommend if a goal change is appropriate. I want to make sure we're assessing thoroughly, but based on the information that we have right now, I do believe a goal change is going to need to be requested.
Okay, and again, we're not necessarily making that request today to change the goal. There is some further documentation that we still need to get to the parties, and in all fairness, to have them have ample time to review it, and then we can all discuss that next month if that's how the court wants to proceed. Is that right?
Correct. In fairness to both parents, I want to ensure that we're able to gather any documentation, that would help in solidifying a decision as far as, the permanency goal moving forward.
Okay, so for now, we're asking the court to maintain contact between Axel and mom through those phone calls. Is that supervised phone calls?
Well, so as far as phone calls with mom have gone, as of recently, she was doing it during dad's, and then there was, I would say, about a month or so where Heather and Dylan both reported they were not together, that they felt like them like interacting essentially was negative for each of them. So Heather has not had phone calls for, I would say, a few weeks. Um, but she also was anticipating being paroled. So she was going to be paroled, and we were going to roll right into the in-person visits, but then that didn't occur. So we're now in a position where we're going to have to explore, I mean, based on what the court feels is appropriate, either phone calls supervised by the department or virtual contact supervised by the department. My hope would be that the prison is able to offer that on a consistent basis, because based on what I'm reading and this new psychological result is that that's going to be imperative. Axel's behaviors, I cannot emphasize enough how significant they are and how dangerous they can be at times. So it's important that we're doing whatever we can to minimize any emotional impact.
Okay, and we're also asking the court to order that mom engage and benefit from services at this time.
Correct. And I would note in the parent agency treatment plan, the most recent one, it it ended in just October, and there's another one that we'll be doing in the near future this month that isn't due yet. So as of October, the end of the most recent parent agency treatment plan, we had marked substance abuse as a strength because she had completed her treatment. We had received proof of that. There was no indication that she wasn't using. We had said, you know, it would be ideal for her to resume those services post-incarceration. Now that we know she has used in the prison, you know, I would identify that as a need again, and request that she resume, if she hasn't already, substance abuse treatment and demonstrate benefit from that treatment as available.
Okay, and lastly, we're asking the court to maintain the goal of reunification at this time.
Yes, and I would request the scheduling of a PPH.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Delaney?
Really only briefly, when did you receive the information from MDOC?
December 17th.
And did that come from a local MDOC representative or from the prison itself?
That came from Miss Danielle Davis.
As far as you know, other than not releasing, has there been a hearing on the allegations at MDOC regarding the drug possession?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And then you probably don't have any further information on new release dates.
No, like I mentioned, we're hoping to get further information from the prison. Contact with the prison historically has been pretty difficult. I had to actually email the warden at one point to get some contact flowing. So hoping that we can find out some more direct information.
All right. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Ms. Hansel, any questions?
I have no questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sommerfeld, any other evidence or witnesses?
I have none. I know Mr. Brown is present. He represents Dad. I'd ask to see, just out of fairness, if he has any questions.
Mr. Brown? Is he still on this?
It says he's still in.
He may have stepped away because he knows that his client isn't involved in this particular case.
Then I'll withdraw
So-
that, Judge.
All right, thank you. Mr. Delaney, do you have any witnesses or evidence that you wish to produce?
If I could address, Heather, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'm not inclined to ask you questions about the meth and the amphetamines if there's a presumption of innocence at the facility. I don't want to interfere with that or interfere with that process. I don't represent you per se on that type of an issue and don't know much about it. So ordinarily, I might ask you questions about things that didn't occur under a parent agency agreement, but I'm not inclined to do that unless you waive that right and want to talk about it, but it's certainly not my recommendation that you do that. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay, you do want to talk about it?
That's fine.
Okay, you understand that if you make statements about illegal activity, it could impact you at the prison.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, but you'll waive that?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. I'm going to ask her some questions then, Judge.
All right.
Judge, can we place her
Ms.
under oath?
McCue, I'm sorry, yep. Ms. McCue, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Mr. Delaney, go ahead.
All right, I just want to give you one more opportunity. While I do this work, Heather, I don't practice generally felony criminal law, and I don't work in the prison system, so I don't have a lot of knowledge about what goes on these procedural things. So I have to depend on you to be able to talk about this freely. So is that still your intention?
Yes.
Okay. So you were supposed to be released, and we were kind of looking forward to that by the end of December or sometime in December, early January. Is that correct?
December 16th, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that was important to you mostly and your child. Do you have a new release date?
Not yet. They said I'd be postponed 30 to 90 days from December 16th. So probably within the next couple of weeks, I'll have a date to see the parole board, and then I'll get a date to leave. Or I'll
And-
just get a date to leave.
And you know, these hearings we have aren't even monthly. Well, if you get that 30 days, can you get a communication to the department? I mean, if you're out, start making some phone calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let them know
Yes.
that where you are and that you're out. Is the case resolved at the prison? In other words, they made some determinations about what they think you did. And
Well, yeah.
okay,
Sorry.
so it's
Yeah,
done.
it's resolved. I didn't get caught with drugs or anything. I was in a fist fight, and they send you to segregation. And then so I was in seg for like 10 days. And when you're in segregation, they drop you for drugs. And I tested positive for meth. That's the only drug test I've failed since I've been here.
Okay, so
And they're random.
you acquired narcotics inside the prison.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay, I mean, you tested positive, so
Yeah.
and that's why I want to be sure that that happened. If it didn't happen, if it was a wrong test or it wasn't you want to say that. But as far as the prison is concerned, they don't have any more hearings for that. They made a determination that it did happen on the drugs. I think the court cares a lot more about that than the fist fight. And the only question is, how much of an additional penalty?
Just like the 30 to 90 days. I had 10 days in segregation, and then I had 30 days on sanction, which is where you can't make phone calls, can't go to certain call outs, like that type of thing.
All right. I'm going to save the court and the state attorney from having to ask this question. They may ask it anyway. If you're getting drugs in prison and using them, what's going to happen when you get out? Do you see what's going to happen? They're going to ask you that question. And so there are no restrictions when you get out. You have all this freedom. And it was gonna be uphill when you got out, and now you've added a mountain. And I certainly don't want to see that happen. I want you to recover. I know the court does. What can you do when you get out to protect yourself from using a very dangerous drug, methamphetamines? Or
Well, to be honest with you, and I've told Joaquin this, in the prison is worse than being on the streets. There's like, in our housing units where we're housed, there's like a couple hundred people in each one. And there's dealers, there's users, you see people high. The drugs are everywhere. And like Joaquin in the beginning had wrote in my parenting treatment plan that, I don't know if it was set as substance abuse, but he said it wasn't a domain that was current because I was incarcerated. And I admitted to him, I said, yes, it is a struggle because they're everywhere. They're in here. Worse, like you don't have to drive and go get them. They're right there.
Okay.
And then other addicts are high on them all the time.
And that could be true. I can understand your point about that. As you know, there's drugs in Gaylord. This particular judge handles the drug court, and he's going to tell you that they're here. They're here in Vanderbilt, Waters, Gaylord, everywhere. Detroit. It's unfortunate. Gaylord wasn't like that, but we're a channel now, and I think every person on this screen can tell you that. So your temptations may be greater, and if that continues, you probably know what direction this case will go in.
And I'll be in counseling once a week, like doing all my stuff, my recovery coaching, all that. Whereas in here, they're only able to do counseling like once every month and a half.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. I wanted to save you from being asked those questions, and you may be asked anyway. Is there anything that you'd like to add, maybe on a positive side, that you want the court and the parties to be aware of?
Yes, my codependency, healthy relationships class and anger management classes, I completed both of those. I have certificates, which I can give when I get out. I might have paperwork, at least saying that I'm done. That's from the prison that I could send Joaquin.
Okay.
I'm in NA. That's like the only other drug thing you can do in here besides the program I already completed.
All right. Is it still your plan to go back to Vanderbilt with your parents?
Yes, it is.
Is there anybody else beyond your parents living there?
No, I have family, but they're like 2 hours away
And how about
or
employment?
more.
Do you have work lined up?
Yes, I'm supposed to be working at a motel in Indian River while I start my cleaning business back up.
Okay, because if you're busy, it's just less time to do drugs, but there's drugs at hotels in Indian River too. Okay, I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hansel, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. Given the availability of drugs that you've explained to us, do you believe there's a likelihood that you will drop dirty or test positive again for drugs during 30 to 90 days that you're now awaiting release?
No, I'm not even worried about that. I don't want them. I did it once and it was a big enough. I had a huge, what's it called? Huge consequences from it.
Okay.
It makes me not even want anything to do with any drugs.
Okay, the consequences were not something you anticipated then when you took the drugs?
No. Like, addicts in their minds, like, justify and rationalize. And I kind of was like, nobody's going to know if I use once. And it ended up in a fight and then me dropping dirty. So
okay.
I did get caught.
And how long have you been incarcerated?
19 months.
And are you stating that this is the only time you've used drugs while you're in prison in the 19 months?
I've used twice.
When was the other time?
Around the same time, like a week before.
Okay. And on your anger management class, had you completed that prior to the altercation that you had in jail or in prison?
No, that happened September 20th. And I got in anger management and codependency, which are separate, after that.
Okay. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sommerfeld, any additional questions that you have?
Heather, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. When, why did you, use the drugs when you knew you were going to be getting out soon and being reunited, having in-person contact with your son?
To be honest with you, it was one of my bunkies that was using, like, I was an 8-man, so there was 8 of us, including myself, in the room, and they used in front of me, and we just kind of did it.
All right.
There's no good answer for that, except the truth.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
I have no questions for Ms. McHugh either. Mr. Delaney, do you have any additional witnesses or evidence?
No, thank you.
Ms. Hansel, any witnesses or evidence?
No, sir.
All right. Closing statements, Mr. Sommerfeld?
Judge, first and foremost, Ms. Renzu's asking for to have a permanency planning hearing. There's some new documents that we recently got. They're important. Ms. Renzu was referencing them in her testimony, and based upon that information, we'd like to apprise all parties so that we can discuss this at an expedited hearing, because based on this new information and also Ms. McHugh getting flopped in prison due to drug use, that this could change the department's direction, and we just want to give everybody that opportunity. Other than that, and in the short run, if the court approves that, we'd ask the court to continue the goal of reunification and ask mom to engage and also benefit from the services. And hopefully she will be getting out soon and not be tempted again when she was so close to being paroled in the first place. So that's all, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Delaney, your comments?
Well, I do appreciate the candor of Heather. And I think that's one of the first signs, is that they directly admit that. But she's added some hills to her climb here. And I would just say to Heather, when you get out, prove the court wrong, test clean, and focus entirely on the child. Thank you.
Ms. Hansel?
I support the recommendations at this point, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. Ms. McHugh, as your lawyer has noted, you've made life quite a bit more difficult for yourself as far as getting Axel back with you. Not to say that it's impossible, but it is going to be a hard road to hoe. I'm going to give the department a little bit of time and to put their paperwork out in front of everybody and see where we go with this. I have not made up my mind yet. I don't know what the best way to go is on this, but I am going to give the department a chance to bring their paperwork forward and see what it says. And they are going to, I'm sure, put together the new information that we received today about your behavior. So I will follow the recommendations, and we'll just see where we go in the future. So Axel will remain temporary ward of the court, and it will confirm his referral to MDHHS for placement, care, and supervision. That will continue. MDHHS will have continued discretion as to parenting time. I would like some parenting time via a video or telephone calls with Ms. McHugh, as would be appropriate, supervised by DHHS. And I'll leave that to the discretion of DHHS. I know that it's difficult to obtain that with the Department of Corrections, but I would ask Ms. Benzu or Mr. Solis to do their best to set something up a number of times. I'm not going to give you a specific number of when it has to be, but as much as possible between now and then, I think would be appropriate. Heather, and we're not here dealing with Dylan, so I'll just say Ms. McHugh, Heather is to comply with her parent agency treatment plan and to demonstrate benefit from those services. And then that would include substance abuse treatment and education as much as is possible within the prison system. You've indicated that you are doing that, and I would expect that that would continue as much as possible there. And then we will set a PPH hearing for both parents on February 17th at 1:30, as that date is already set up for to be used. So I would ask that DHHS pull together their paperwork as quickly as possible and get that out to the parties so that we could be prepared for that hearing. In the meantime, I will continue the goal of reunification, and that will continue until such time, if ever, as the department convinces me otherwise. Mr. Sommerfeld, is there anything else that we need to do today?
No, thank you, Judge.
Mr. Delaney?
Nothing further, thank you.
Ms. Hansel?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Benzu, thank you for your assistance today. Good luck to you, Ms. McHugh.
Thank you.
Thank you.